Welcome to Broadband Action, a podcast presented by the Community Broadband Action Network. I'm Curtis Dean. Today, we're going to be talking about a topic that's kind of near and dear to my heart. Many years ago, when I was at Spencer Municipal Utilities, a municipal broadband operator in Iowa, I was one of the people on the team that helped create a couple of local TV stations, essentially, on our cable network. And we did that as a way to promote the community, to support the community, and to add value to our cable network at the time. It was a huge success. And on our podcast, I'm going to be talking with one of the people who helped make that possible and is still making it possible in Spencer, Iowa. Why covering this on Broadband Action? You know, we usually cover a lot of topics that internet providers and others, communities are interested in. Well, the reason is that I believe local programming can be a true value add for any broadband provider, even if they don't have cable TV. If they're out covering their community with cameras and then transmitting that to consumers and customers one way or another with an over-the-top platform or on a cable channel, they're really adding stickiness to their service. So I think it's an important topic, and that's why I decided to tackle it this week. We'll be talking with a couple of the providers that are C-band members that are doing exactly that, covering their community with local programming. All that coming up here on Broadband Action. Today's edition of Broadband Action is brought to you in part by our many great sponsors for the C-band IAMU 2025 Spring Summit, including RAD Network Solutions. In today's connected world, telecommunications infrastructure matters. RAD Network Solutions delivers innovative products and solutions for tomorrow's networks. As a full-service OSP solution provider in the telecommunication industry, they partner with key manufacturers to create cost-effective solutions for every type of network. Their team brings tremendous industry knowledge and stays on the cutting edge of today's technology, providing exceptional customer service that keeps lead times down and inventory in stock. For your next broadband project, trust the experts at RAD Network Solutions. Broadband Action also brought to you by the folks at Calix. Discover the future of connectivity with Calix. Their innovative solutions empower service providers to deliver exceptional experiences to drive revenue growth and transform communities. Join Calix in revolutionizing the way the world connects. Choose Calix, where innovation meets excellence. Also, Broadband Action brought to you by another of our Spring Summit sponsors, Apricom. Apricom is focused on delivering operational excellence capabilities to the rural market. Their managed Wi-Fi and managed access tools are used in low ARPU markets across the world, but provide world-class capabilities to operators of all sizes to drive down their OpEx costs. They want rural broadband operators in the Midwest to have an AT&T-like tool at their disposal, but at costs and commitments suitable for their market. That's Apricom. Today on Broadband Action, we're talking about local programming provided by local broadband providers that also do cable TV and how it benefits them, their community, and their customers. So I've got two of our C-band members that are very active in the way of doing video of local events in their communities. Monte Goodyk is with Pella Fiber in the city of Pella in Pella, Iowa. And Karyn Leininger is with Spencer Municipal Utilities in Spencer, Iowa. And both of these entities are doing a lot, and we're here to talk about it and talk about how some of the benefits can trickle down to the community at large for providers that are active in their community. So thanks for both of you coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, Karyn, I'm going to start with you because I've known you for longer. No offense, Monte, but full disclosure, Karyn and I worked together in Spencer for a few moons and a few moons ago. Maybe have you talked through how the decision was made in Spencer that was a priority that we do kind of local event coverage on our little local channel that we have there on SMU cable TV?
All right. Well, in Spencer, there was a call to action for somebody to do some cable TV to compete with the other cable system in town. So we took a vote. City of Spencer took a vote. Spencer Utilities was granted the franchise, I guess you'd say, for the cable system. And then we decided, Curtis and I basically talked about what we could do locally to make it something that people wanted to buy into. and be different from the other competitor in town. So we came up with, we actually have 3 local channels. We have a weather channel that just scrolls weather 24/7. Nothing, we don't really do anything with that unless there's a problem with it. And then we have our PEG channel, and then we have what we call our Spencer Channel 3, which is all local produced things. So we do things for the school, we do things in the community. When we first got started, we were selling advertising, we were doing, ads in the productions. We had a lot of, I think some of those years where we were the busiest, we probably did about 180 school events and probably over 100 community events. And we did 4 or 5 locally produced TV shows, depending on, we had a coaches show, we had a public affairs show, we had one that was kind of a little more fun and crazy. We had one that was called Simple Solutions with the 2 ladies in town that talked about different ways that they could make life easier for folks. So that was kind of how we came about, was just to make sure that there was something local for the people in town that had our cable, and to kind of make them want to be a part of SMU.
And you've been at SMU for 24 years. I established my memory banks were refreshed by your memory banks about when we started doing that local programming there. But Karyn, your background in local type video goes back even further than that, right?
Yeah, I worked at, got my start at South Dakota Public Television. And then I went to Des Moines. I worked in a production house in Des Moines. And then my husband and I moved back up here. It was supposed to be a short little stint, retire his parents, and then we were moving on to the next thing, which, that didn't happen. But anyway, and then I worked for a little startup company up in the lakes who was doing production to put on MediaCom. And then basically the part about that is, I don't know if people out there know what a video toaster is, but I got the job because I knew what a video toaster was. And I knew how to work it. So that's basically how I got that job.
The video toaster, yes. Karyn will remember Mike Toonstra, and he had a video toaster in his basement. He was my backdoor neighbor. That's the first time I was introduced to any kind of video production, and that was to do a video about the lakes floods in 1993. Well, Monte, you've also been involved in creativity and production for a long time too.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about how your journey led you to the city of Pella and Pella Fiber.
Sure. I started video production back in 2014, and I got this strange idea that I was going to make movies, political documentaries to begin with. But then Corey and Keita reached out to me. It would have been 3 years ago, coming up here. And they were looking for somebody to go out and produce all of the local content for Pella Fiber. And we sat down a couple of times, and sounds like our ideas met, and so that's when I started. It was 3 years ago.
Now, you at Pella Fiber, you're like Spencer. You have more than one outlet on your local cable TV platform, right, Monte?
We do. A lot of the programming we also put out on Facebook and YouTube, as well as the local channels. So we have channel 40, which is our city. We call it the city channel. It includes city council meetings, planning and zoning meetings, but we also have some locally produced shows like Marion County Espresso, and we go out to the Humane Society every week and we do a special on that. And then we also have a couple other ones in the works. So then we have channel 41, which is all Central College programming. And we're kind of on hiatus with that because they've had some turnover in their department, and we don't have anybody there producing the fresh content right now. But we hope to get that ramped up soon. And then we have channel 42, which is all Pella schools, Pella and Pella Christian. And we update that footage, or we update that programming at least once a week. So, yep. We aren't doing a terrible lot of live stuff on that anymore, though.
Yeah. Okay. Pella's what, 14,000, 15,000 maybe?
Yeah, about 10,500.
10,000. So the two communities we're talking about here, for those of you who don't know, Pella, Iowa and Spencer, Iowa, you're about the same size in rural areas of the state of Iowa. I guess somebody who's listening or watching out there in the universe might think, how in the world can you find enough things to do in a town that size to either fill up a linear cable channel like you started, or to have a online and a streaming platform presence. But Karyn, I'll start with you. It hasn't been that hard, has it?
No, definitely not. Especially if you get an agreement with the school. I mean, that's right there. You have every concert, athletic event. I mean, depending on if you want to do from elementary all the way through high school, we only do varsity sports, but we do all the concerts, and you get a good relationship with that school. Just the other day, they had visiting artists that came in from New York. So I was invited in to kind of follow along with that day, do the interview with the artists, so that's content for a TV show. Our community theater, we record their programming when it's copyright. When we can use it on copyright without a copyright problem, we put it on our channel. Otherwise, we are, that's interviews that we can use for our programming. There's always musical things going on. We have a Main Street market that happens in the summertime. There's plenty. I always remember every time I'd hire a new part-timer, they'd always be like, I can't believe there's all this stuff going on. So, you can find it. It's there.
Well, let's talk about staffing a little bit, and I'll start with you on this one, Monte. You're kind of the one-man shop, aren't you, for the most part?
I am, yeah, and it's tough. It's tough to, you've not only do I have to do all the scheduling, and I've got to know the equipment inside and out. I've got to show up for the events. I've got to produce it. I've got to film it. I've got to edit it and then put it out there. So it's been tough. It's a challenge on a regular basis. So tulip time, especially, which is coming right up. I've got the schedule ready, and it's just a matter of getting to all these places at the right time. But
tulip time, the equation, the probably equivalent of that in Spencer is the Clay County Fair, Karyn.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit about how you've done that over the years. It's quite a major operation to cover. What is it? 9 days of the fair?
Yeah, 9 days. Yep. We do a daily TV show starting on the very first Saturday. We do a half-hour show. So we get there 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, and we produce, and it's produced and on the air usually by 8 p.m. every day of the fair. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
We have a studio in the basement. The radio station has a building out there, and we were actually in the basement down there, so we could do all our production there on site. The first few years Curtis and I did it, we were bringing everything back to this building, and that was a lot of work. And but it's definitely got a little bit easier in that regard. But that's a fun one that we do 9 days, and it is a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun too.
Pretty rewarding. Yeah.
So you meet a lot of great people.
Absolutely. One of the themes that I'm seeing as we're having this discussion is the importance of partnerships with entities within the community. Karyn, you talked about the schools, and Monte, you talked about various entities. What are the challenges with working through those partnerships? Do you have to have agreements in place and all of that? Do you have to have a single point of contact when you're coordinating all this? And either one of you can answer that.
Yeah, I'll let the more experienced person answer that, Karyn.
Well, like for the school, my main contact is probably the athletic director at the school. He keeps me updated on doing any kind of changes, any kind of that happen in that regard. But our agreement comes through the superintendent of the school, and that's taken care of through our CEO, and they go through all that and get that agreement all taken care of. And it's just we've been doing it for so long anymore. People kind of expect us. There's a lot of times I'll walk into the school. Well, this happened this winter. I walked into school for a basketball game, and I was accosted by the music teachers because they forgot to ask me to come if I could take care of the state jazz contest that was like the following Monday. They just assumed I was going to be there, and then somebody said, "Well, did you ask her?" So that happened, but they're so used to us being there that sometimes they forget to ask, or sometimes they're like, "Oh, didn't we tell you we were starting at 5? Yeah, no, you didn't, but we'll get there." So, and then like at the Clay County Fair, so with the CEO there, and they use our stuff for their publicity as well as for our programming.
Today's episode of Broadband Action brought to you in part by our amazing 2025 Spring Summit sponsors, including Interduct. Telecommunications construction crews need reliable infrastructure solutions. Interduct.com offers a complete range of Interduct products that keep fiber optic cables protected and organized. From flexible HDPE to rigid PVC options, they provide everything needed to get the job done right. Visit interduct.com today to build with confidence. We're also excited to have the Fiber Broadband Association as a sponsor of this year's Spring Summit. The Fiber Broadband Association is the voice of fiber. As the premier association that focuses solely on fiber, they relentlessly work to connect every American with fiber, because only fiber can close the digital divide and unleash economic development that will raise the quality of life for every single one of us, providing education and job opportunities, eliminating poverty, creating sustainability, and enabling innovations we haven't even thought of yet. Fiber ensures no one gets left behind. The Fiber Broadband Association is hosting its annual Fiber Connect Conference June 1st through 4th in Nashville, Tennessee. Join over 5,000 broadband visionaries, leaders, and policymakers at the world's largest fiber event as they open dialogues to usher in the new age of broadband connectivity. For more information, visit fiberbroadband.org and join us at Fiber Connect. We'd also like to thank Challenger Cable, a Spring Summit bronze sponsor. As you look out on your fiber networks, look to Challenger Optics. They can provide the optical network infrastructure from your head end to your customer's home. From vaults to the fiber to splitters to NIDs and jumpers, check them out. It's challengeroptics.com. Monte, have you been able to, with those partnerships, like share your content to the organizations you're working with so that they can share it with their folks?
Yeah, it's more the opposite for us.
Okay.
So we get their content that they produce off of YouTube. We download it off of YouTube, and then we encode it for our TV service.
Okay.
So yeah, we've tried different methods to do that, and we found that was the most efficient. And
it's produced and available in the cloud, and if you can download it. Yeah.
One of the biggest challenges I've found is the scheduling. It is the finding out what's taking place when and where. Being a one-man show, it's just difficult to keep track of everything and to actually be there for it. It's tough.
A lot going on. And Karyn, you're fortunate you're not a one-person show. You were at the very beginning, but you've got some helpers now, right?
Yeah, I'm short-staffed right now. I have one full-time person right now. It's just so it's me and the full-time person. And then we utilize some folks within the building. At one time there were 3 full-time people and 2 part-time people when we were at the height prior to 2020. COVID shut down a lot of things in that regard. But so we're a little short-staffed, but we make it happen. And like I said, with you only being for 2 years, sometimes those agreements are, like I said, I kind of know where I need to go check for schedules, and I have enough folks that are really good about making sure I know. Like all the coaches have my phone numbers, and all the directors have my phone number, so they're pretty good about making sure that I am aware if there's any changes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Monte, I can tell you that Karyn, I always knew when Karyn was short-staffed when she had to resort all the way down the list to having me go with the camera somewhere, cover a swimming meet, and then there was a time I did the play-by-play for a tennis match, and I didn't know that there was no such thing as 30 love in
oh boy
in high school tennis. I found that out the hard way. But
I would love to be able to have somebody to send a camera out with and just have them capture stuff. That would be great.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the value that these efforts that you have for your local communities, because that's really what I want to focus on the rest of our time together here today. Doing all this is not cheap, right? I mean, there's expenditures and staff and resources and equipment to make this happen. Did your governing bodies, Monte, in your case, the city council, and Karyn, in your case, your utility board, did they make a cost benefit analysis, or did they just say, this is the right thing for us to do for our community?
Ours is basically, it's the right thing to do for the community. When we started doing the live streaming in 2020, we don't charge for that. And there's been talk about going to that, but then there's enough people and enough folks here that are like, nope, it's our service to our community. We're going to continue doing it for free until maybe something else would change or whatever. But a lot of folks, because that's what we're here for. We're to be a service to the community.
Right. And
yeah, pretty much the same with us. You know, the 4 channels are available for free to any Pella Fiber customers, television customers, and a lot of the big events we do put on Facebook and YouTube for anybody in the community to view as well for free.
I got to ask you, Monte, you did a movie that I thought was really cool, and I felt like I was watching a Hallmark movie when I did it. Talk about the film you did here last fall, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was so much fun. It was called Spirit of Pella Christmas, and it was modeled after Hallmark movies. And I don't really watch Hallmark movies, but the other people helping did. And we recruited a bunch of people. We brought a director up from Nashville that helped to write it and direct it. And I was the DP, and I was the only camera person. And it was a lot of fun. It went pretty much viral around the state. We were on all the news broadcasts, and yeah, we're going to continue to use that in the future for around Christmas time. And the director is actually in the process of doing a director's cut of it right now. So we'll have a new version available this next Christmas.
That's quite cool. Were they using all your gear, or was it a combination?
Yeah, we used all of my own personal gear for that film.
Gotcha.
And I'm picky about quality, so it needed to be shot on higher end gear and stuff. So they made an exception. Normally that's not something they want to have happen, but they made an exception in this case and let me use my own gear.
Sure. Well, there you go. If you're a gear geek, you end up using it for work. I was always hauling speakers and microphones to things for my days at my previous employer because I had it, because I did DJ work. So it was just to throw it in the car and make it work. Karyn, Monte talked about the film that they did and kind of got some real traction. What are some of the things that you've been involved with in producing at SMU that have had a little bit more of a kick or attraction to people even outside of Spencer?
Probably the fair shows, the 9 days of the fair shows, those probably get the most traction. Our most watched event is probably Prom Grand March. I think we just had that this last weekend, and I think there were over 700 people on the live stream, plus like 200 on our cable system.
Wow.
We did the ADM Tiger playoff football game, had over 1,000 some viewers on that live stream. But that's probably it. Nothing like a movie or anything.
Right. Well, I was before we were getting ready to do this, I was remembering the tornado video we did.
Oh,
Karyn,
yeah. Yep, that was fun.
The tornadoes of Clay County or whatever it was called. That was pretty primitive, but that was a long time ago, 2005 or something like that.
Yeah,
so
something like that. Yeah.
Well, Monte, as we're getting ready to wrap up here, what are some of your goals for local programming in Pella? Do you have goals about doing more, doing better, adding staff? What are some of the things you aspire to with your operation?
Sure. In the next year, we're going to be adding a show that focuses on Marion County and not just Pella. And we're going to have 2 hosts of that show, co-hosts. And we're going to travel out to various places in Marion County, like the racetrack in Knoxville. And we're going to focus on those things. And we're really going for high-end video quality. We've purchased some new cameras for it, some action cameras. And yeah, it's going to be good. We've got everything on hold through Tulip Time right now, but as soon as Tulip Time is over, we're going to be focusing on that as well.
And same question to you, Karyn. Anything on your horizon that you have a goal or an aspiration, and you just got to get the boss to say yes?
Not really, no. When it's just kind of me and Taylor right now, we're kind of status quo and making sure we get everything on there that needs to be on there.
Great. Well, one thing I almost forgot to share with everybody are your website addresses. If you're watching this, you'll see on screen. This is Spencer Municipal Utilities. It's smunet.net. I'll share these in the description too if you're listening. And then Pella Fiber is pellafiber.com. 2 of our C-band provider members, and they are utilizing local video coverage of community events as a way to benefit their community and to make their services a little stickier, I would think. So I want to thank you both for coming on and being part of our podcast today. Our guests today here on the podcast have been Monte Goodyk with Pella Fiber and Karyn Leininger with Spencer Municipal Utilities. Thank you all for listening or watching. We'll see you next time here on Broadband Action.